As we come to the end of the semester, you may be wondering, what am I going to do with all the cool information that I have online? You know, the Web2 folder that you've been working with and saving on your flash drive or your computer system, or even on Dropbox. Those things, you know, you could lose them at some point, they could get misplaced, or you just don't have access to a place online where you can upload your assignments. So let's make sure that all your hard work is kept somewhere. The weareidt.com accounts that you were assigned at the beginning of class, or maybe even before you started this class for another El Centro College class, will be deleted in the following weeks. Not necessarily right away, but at some point all your information will be gone, and I would hate for you to have to not be able to get your work back. So this video will show you how to set up a GitHub account, how to download the appropriate software that's needed to get it going, and how to save your work from this semester. All the software that I'll be using for this demonstration is available freely on the internet. We have already discussed some of it. I'll be using the FileZilla FTP client to just make sure that I have all my files saved locally. If you have already installed FTP FileZilla and already have all your information saved on the computer that you're using or on a flash drive somewhere locally, then you might not need the information that follows about FileZilla. You could probably skip forward to the part where we get to GitHub. I'm working on a school computer that doesn't have any of my personal information yet, so I'm going to load up FileZilla and just get started with that. I'm going to repeat the same steps that I used before. I'm going to go to the File, Site Manager. Control S was the shortcut. If you're in a Mac, that would be Command S. I'm going to create a new site, and the settings that I need to use, I need to do the FTP file transfer protocol. The host is going to be the host that was assigned to me. This is the one that we've been talking about all semester long. Mine is frodriguez.weareidt.com. We are using an open port. That's number 21. I think that even if you don't put that number there, it will assign it to you, but just type in 21 there if you're using FileZilla. You could have also done this from Dreamweaver, but as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm using software that's freely available. We're using plain FTP. The logon type will not be anonymous, it will be normal. Username is the one that was assigned to you. Mine is frodriguez. My password is my password, not necessarily MYP. It's something else, trust me. Your password is whatever was assigned to you or whatever was changed to later. Account, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go to the tab that says Advanced on top. Server type, blah, 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 etc. So I don't care. The default local directory, I'm going to browse to my desktop. Now, if you already have your FTP folder on your computer or your flash drive, this actually you would use to go and find it and locate it. I don't have one here in this computer, so I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Web2 just because it's simple. I could call it anything that I want. I will make sure that it's selected and tell FileZilla to select that folder. It then added the file path C:/users, etc. all the way to Web2. The default remote directory is the same one for all accounts. It's /public_HTML, and I'm going to end with a / just to be safe. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to click on connect. And so now on the left side is what's on my local folder. It shows me desktop Web2, and it's blank. There's nothing there. However, on the other side, there's everything else. This is what's on my public HTML. This is what's on my website. If I were to visit my site right now, I could open up a new tab and just say frodriguez, etc.weareidt.com. this is what's there. It's week 3, week 4, etc. All the folders that are there. And I want to save all this. One thing that you will not be able to save, and I'm sorry to say that if you had some really cool stuff on your blog, I would go and get that information article by article, and then maybe go to WordPress.com and start a new free blog there. And I can give you directions later on how to do that. And I'll certainly post a link underneath this video. So let me return to FileZilla. Like I said, I have everything else over here. I have lots of folders. Some of them are not mine because I do a lot of work with students. The one thing to keep in mind, I keep my blog on WP. This is definitely one folder that I don't want to download. It won't do me any good to have it. It will not download, well, it would download all the files that you uploaded originally. However, all that is, it's the WordPress program, and you can get that for free at wordpress.org. Like I said, you can set up a free WordPress blog that will provide you with hosting. It will have less options, however, than the one that we created and installed here. If you want to run that type of a blog, you would need to sign up with an internet space provider and actually probably pay a monthly fee. And you can get some fairly cheap, maybe even as cheap as $4 a month. What I'm trying to say though is that WP, you want to keep it up there. You don't necessarily need it down on your folder. What I do want to do is then every other folder besides WP I want to have selected. So I'm going to start at the very top, the CSS. I'm clicking to select it. I know it's selected because it's blue all the way across. I'm using my scroll button on my mouse to go all the way to the folder before WP. I'm pressing and holding the Shift key. That way, everything from CSS on down, all these other folders are selected, and except for WP. I still have a couple of files underneath that. If you're using a PC, you can press and hold the Control key. That way you can click on individual files. That will select those. Or you can choose not to do that and then just download this first and then come back and select that later. Once you have everything selected, you can download to your local folder. I'm going to right click on my selection and just say download. Hopefully this won't take too long. I'm going to pause the video for a second and I'll come back when it's all done. The speed server gods are looking down on me. That was done as soon as I said I'll be back. So I have all my folders that were selected on my local folder. If I were to open up my desktop, let me show you. You can see I have this Web 2 folder here. It's going to snap back to the left, but trust me, it's there. I'm going to double click to open it, and here's all the files that I just downloaded, including some things that I'm not truly aware of. And that's fine because we're going to upload all this to a place where there's going to be plenty of space. All of these things will be saved elsewhere. Going back to FileZilla, because I still have an index.html, draft.html, etc. So I want to select those files as well. I'm clicking on the very first one that I didn't download. It's selected. Once again, it's blue all the way across. I'm going to press the Shift key and hold it, and then I can click on the very last file, test.php, and do the same thing. Right click and download. So now if I were to look back at my folder, my Web 2 folder, I can see that my whole website, all the work that I've done this semester is saved locally on Web 2. And like I said, everything then is downloaded to my local file. And if you had already downloaded all this information or kept it on your computer, this is the part where you would come and check out the rest of the video. So at least on my part, I'm going to close FileZilla. I'll open it again if I need it. I don't think that I will. I will keep this Web 2 open just in case. I'm going to go back to my browser and I'm going to visit the website github.com. It's github.com, where you are presented by an AutoCAD. Don't ask. So we're going to create a new website, rather a new account for GitHub. I recommended even if you're not going to save your files here, GitHub comes in very handy, especially if you're going to continue in web design or programming or just about anything tech. It's free space. It's a place where you can build personal projects, and most importantly, you can build repositories where you can save lots of data, and it's free. It was created by the same people that brought you Linux. So I'm going to sign up for a new account. I already have an account, but I'll make a new one just for this video. I'm going to pick a username, and it's going to be unimaginative, but it'll work for the video since I don't think anybody else is FIR5522. That's my identity in the El Centro College server. My email address, surprisingly enough, it's FIR5522 at DCCD.edu. My password will be my password, not literally. And I'll sign up for GitHub. Welcome to GitHub. You've taken your first step into a larger world. And this is true because now you're going to be able to upload all your projects here. Don't worry, don't be afraid about the cost plans. If you're going to use this a lot and a large company, which I'm sure would pay for this, it would cost you $50 a month, or $22 a month, or $12 a month, or even as cheap as $7 a month. We're going to choose the cheapest amount, which is $0 a month. The chosen one is the cheap one. I'm going to then, I don't need to set up an organization because I'm an individual that's just going to upload some files, and I will finish my sign up. Using the Hello World Guide, you will create a repository and start a branch. The branch that you want to start, and just trust me when I say that a branch is basically a directory where your stuff will be saved. A repository is basically the same thing. It's just a place, a directory where your files will remain. I don't have any repositories yet in this account. We're going to create a new repository. I'm going to click on the green button. Please verify your email address. So let me pause the video while I do that. I'm going to go into my email client and just say that yes, this is me. I have just created this account and I'm a real person. I'll be right back. And I'm back. So basically I went into my email. They sent me a link. It says, hello, help us secure your GitHub account. I clicked on the blue button to verify my email address. And then it gives me the sign-in window. I put in my username and the password I selected. I'll click on sign in. And I'm going to save this for later, yes. And learn GitHub and GitHub without any code and how to do all this with a Hello World Guide. Create a repository, start a branch, write comments, and open a pull request. And that's all fine and dandy, but I'm not going to do that just yet. You can do that later, or you can do that right now. The steps that I'm going to provide you will actually come from another page inside of GitHub. It's going to be the Pages option. So I'm going to create a new repository. This repository, I'm the owner. This is my username. The repository name that I want is going to be my username, which is FIR5522 dot. Now this is going to be yours. You could be Crazy Project, or you can be Master User. You can be anything that you like, but this is your username. The first part of the repository name is your username. Once you put in your username and type in the dot, then add the GitHub, GITHUB.io. In fact, this is going to be your backup website later. Description, which is optional. You can type in anything that you like here. I'm going to say a repository, or let me spell it correctly, repository to, and I still didn't spell it correctly, to save my web work from El Centro College. You can give it any description you like. You can give it no description. This is optional. This is going to be public. All the information that you provide GitHub, because it's free and it's a free society and it's open source, anybody can go and see it. So just be careful what you have up there. I mean, I'm sure that by now you have only uploaded classes, or rather files from class. So I'm going to say yes, initialize this repository with a README. I don't necessarily need a license or a git ignore just yet. I'm going to create this repository. So now I have my initial repository, and this is going to look basically like some sort of tech web page. It's going to have a directory. We now have in our account at the top here my username, and I have a repository called fir5522.github.io. If I were to click on that, then I'd get this window, the same window. There's the readme.md, and all that is just a little bit of text that says who I am and what this is all about. If I wanted to edit this file, I would use the edit button. That's this pencil on the right side. It says edit this file. If I click on that, I can change the contents of the file. So rather than say repository to save my web work from El Centro College, I could say from El Centro College's web design to class, or something like that, or anything you'd like. This hashtag at the very beginning, this, by the way, is not an HTML file. This is an MD file. It's a markdown. HTML is a markup language. This is markdown language. It's a little bit different. It's actually a little bit easier. So all that hashtag means is that this is an H1, and anything that follows will be in that H1 style. So I can say my web 2 backup, and scroll to the bottom. It tells me, you want to commit changes? Yes, commit the changes. You can make comments on these changes here. It already tells me that basically I updated readme.md. So I'll click on commit changes, and now my web 2 backup appears. My changes appear in this file, and here my repository has gotten started. And by now you're thinking, well, big deal, you know, it's just a page with my web 2 backup and some text underneath. I thought we were going to be able to save stuff. And yes, we are. We're just getting started, though. I'm going to go into the settings button up here. Click on settings. It's going to tell me all the stuff that's available to me. One of them is going to be this one, GitHub Pages. Here it tells me that my site is published at http://fir5522.github.io. This would then be the address that you provided. This is going to be the same name as your repository. You have multiple options on how to get this going. Well, let's first take a look at that page. I'm going to click on that link, and it tells me 404 files not found. If this is your site, make sure that the file name case matches the URL. For root URLs like http example.com, etc., you must provide an index.html file. So we need to give it an index of some sort. On your web 2 folder, you already have an index.html. For this one, though, let's create a quick index.html file. So I'm going to slide back to the top of the page, and I'm going to click on this repository, fir5522.github.io. I'm going to create a new file. Click on this tab. This file then is going to say, well, it's going to be in this repository, and then what are you going to call it? On the name, I'm going to type in index.html. I'll press enter. That accepts it. There's a text editor right below that. So I can say hello world, exclamation point, go all the way to the bottom. Notice this has no tags, this has no code, it's just a text file. I'll commit this new file, and then I'll go back to my settings, back to my pages, and see what happens. And I have now fir5522.github.io with the content hello world. So I have published my first file in my new server. If I had actually put in some HTML tags, I'm just returning back to my editor so that I can see my repository, my index.html, and then click on the Edit This File button. If I had actually used some HTML tags, then things would have happened as an HTML file would do. I'm going to type in some basic HTML, H1, and inside of that H1 I'll say Francisco's page, and hello world. I'll wrap that on with a paragraph. So I'll put in P. It already put the other end of the paragraph for me, and I'll paste it at the end. I'm going to save, or rather commit the changes. Changes have been saved, and I'm going to go to my new site. I'm going to put in a new tab rather than opening the same one. So it's going to be F. Rodriguez. No, it's actually FIR 5522 github.io, and there it is. I had to reload the page. I pressed F5. You can also press Control R, Apple R on a Mac, and now I see that just my basic HTML made a big difference on this page. I'm going to right click and view the page source, and I see the tags that I added. I'll be closing this and that, and now comes the backing up part. And rather than taking you through a series of clicks on this website to download the program that we need, I'm going to click a new tab, and I'm going to type in the address directly. It's called desktop.github.com. I'm going here, and depending on what you have, I'm running on Windows 7. It tells me to download GitHub Desktop, and this big blue button gives me lots of instructions on it, and you're welcome to read all those at some point. I'm going to give you the very basic instructions. I'm going to download the GitHub Desktop. I'm putting it on my desktop just because I can find it easy. Obviously, you can put it wherever. And I'm going to get that program started and run the file. And I'll wait for it to set up. Hopefully it won't take too long. But just in case it does, I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back when it's all done. Okay, so at least now it has downloaded. Just it's installing it. Crossing my fingers. Seeing the little ring go around. And I have to trust, since it's not telling me anything else, that it is now installed. I'm going to go into my Windows menu and find all my programs, and no, actually, while I was doing that, it just ran on its own, which is so much better. It's saying welcome. Although GitHub is not allowing me to move it, trust me that this is the important part. It's giving me a welcome message that you can't necessarily see. It's telling me some stuff on the left side that will come in handy later. For now, I'm going to put in my GitHub username, FIR5522, as well as my password. Type it in correctly. And tell it to log in. And then it's going to ask me to configure it. This will be used in the commits that I create. So I'll just continue. There are no local repositories found. That means we need to tell it where our files are. So I'll click over to my dashboard to get started. It's looking for a tutorial and it can't find it. Yours might say something different. You don't need the tutorial just yet. If you do see the tutorial, you'll see an animated icons moving and telling you click here, learn that. Since we don't have it, I'll just ignore it. I want to find this plus key on the upper left corner. Let me change this so that it fits on the window a little bit better. I'll click on that to create a repository. Well, actually I don't need to create anything just yet. I could clone it or I could add it. I'm going to click on the clone button, and it's going to show me, well, you already have a repository called FIR5522, etc. I'll double click on that, or rather just click on it once. At the bottom there's a button that says to clone FIR5522, etc. And although all my files are stored on Web 2, I'm going to select my desktop. This is going to be the folder it's going to work out of. There's my Web 2 already there. I don't need to open that. It's going to instead create a new folder called fir5522.github.io that will hold the information from the server. And it's telling me this is stuff that's happened already. We created an index.html file. We created that README file, and what the changes were that were made to each one of these, and that's all fine and dandy. But what we now want to be interested in, remember that I have this Web 2 folder open. And now on my desktop, and I wish you could see my desktop, maybe see if I can actually show you, I do have an FIR5522.github folder created there. I'm going to double click to open that, and it's showing me the content of the repository. It's got an index.html file and it's got a readme.md file. What I want to do now is on my original files, and this is actually a cool step because since we don't want to put these in danger, they're already on your hard drive, we want to save them. The best way to not mess with them is to just select them all. I'm going to click on one of the files inside of Web 2. I'm pressing Control A, Apple A on your Mac, and then I'm going to copy these. I don't think that Apple has a copy, but you would have to right click and drag and drop on the other folder to copy it. You could do actually that kind of similar option on Windows. I'm going to make sure that I can see both directories. I'm pressing and holding the right button key on my mouse, and I'm dragging all the files to the fir5522.github.io. And then it's going to ask me, you want to copy here, move here, etc. I want to copy here. That way then, there is already an index.html, that's hello world. I want to replace that. Copy and replace. So that then I'll have a new index page on my website. And so now I have two copies of my all my files. There's one on my Web 2 folder, which I will close now. And there's now one on my fir5522.github.io. I'll go back into the GitHub program, the client, and it's now telling me that there's changes that have been made. I'll click on the Changes tab, and it says you have all these new files. What do you want to do with them? We want to sync. So I'll click on Sync, and I'm going to give it a chance here to upload what I have on my server, actually. And let's see, maybe I can click on sync again, and now it's saying syncing. It was already saying syncing. Changes, history, I'll go back to changes. Oh, I need to tell it a summary. I'm going to say upload my local files to GitHub. All the files from Web 2. And then I have a little icon that says commit to master. I'll click on the check mark. I'll try sync again. And now it's actually syncing. So what's happening is that all the files in my Web 2 are getting pushed up to the server. GitHub is not necessarily the fastest service, but it's fairly reliable. Once it's done, everything should appear on the website. So I'm going to go back to my browser while this is happening. This is the old window. I'm going back to this one. I already downloaded the desktop version. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go back into my fir5522.github.io repository, and I see that it's already starting to upload all my files from Web 2. I recognize my CSS file, my templates, all the weeks that I saved. It still has the readme.md. However, my index.html, that hello world that I had before, if I click on that, it's going to show me my index.html from my server. So that's still going, and I do believe it's done syncing. This is why we didn't download the WordPress, because we would be caught on a long loop of trying to upload WordPress, and it wouldn't have done us any good because we didn't download or save the database that's attached to it, and it would now be in a separate server. So we would have to go through, I think, a miracle in order for it to work. So let's not worry about WordPress just yet. I'm going to click a new tab. I'm going to type in fir5522.github.io. Press enter, and welcome to your new page. These are the Web 2 assignments that we worked on. If I jump really quick and see what we were doing week 4, we did a hyperpoem which has links. So there you go. Week 6, etc. And so now anytime that you want to update things on your github.io account, be sure that you go into your FIR, or rather on your own repository on github.io. You can go into the index.html file, and you can change it here. It understands HTML as well as MD. It understands a lot of things actually, and obviously I've already talked a lot. I've talked for about half an hour, and all I wanted to do was to have you save your information so that it's safe somewhere. Ideally, you would have this all stored on your hard drive. Ideally, you have this stored on a flash drive somewhere where you can find it. This is just an extra step for you to not only keep it, but to be able to display it. Hey, this is what I did on Web 2, last semester. You can show it off. Well, not this page. This page is no good. I'm sure that you have better work to show. I hope that the instructions were not too confusing. I did stumble a couple of times, but it's my first day at work. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the class. I hope that you save all your stuff. I hope to maybe see you again in another class. And as always, if you have any questions, send me an email at fir5522@dccd.edu, firodriguez@dccd.edu. You can find me on Twitter, Slack, and all those other cool places. Thank you very much.